One morning, Yui storms into the room looking like she's ready to bite Matsugo's sausage off. She confronts Matsugo about a receipt, insisting he was supposed to handle it, but Matsugo fires back, telling her it's not his job and that she needs to deal with her own stupid tasks. Frustrated by this, Yui snatches the paper back, calls him a dumb buffoon, and storms off while throwing insults at him. However, later that day, Matsugo is greeted warmly by none other than Yui, who apologizes for her behavior earlier. It turns out that these two office rivals are actually a couple, and Matsugo is just relieved their little spat hid how much they actually like each other. As Matsugo washes his hands, he reflects on how exhausting this whole charade is and simply wants to be open about their relationship. He hands Yui a beer and cautiously suggests they could maybe tell a few close colleagues about them, but the chick immediately rejects the idea. She claims that the risk is too high for their careers and has zero interest in becoming the main topic of office gossip. She then forbids him from staring at her or breathing near her when they are in the office. For a moment, Matsugo wonders if they're even really dating with all these restrictions, but then Yui turns to him with a shy smile and suggests they could go on dates while wearing masks, cutely saying she will be embarrassed if everyone finds out she has a boyfriend. And just like that, he turns into a simp once again. The following day, Matsugo is drowning in accounting tasks while Yui, who works in the planning department, sees a golden opportunity. She volunteers to deliver some paperwork just for a chance to visit Matsugo's workplace. Yui tries to play it cool, but her friends notice her eagerness and they forbid her to go because she always treats the accounting staff badly. The next morning, Matsugo is rushing to the elevator with a mountain of documents, already dreading another day of overtime. When the elevator doors open and Yui steps inside, she looks perfectly composed, which is a stark contrast to Matsugo, who is just a man-child in an adult uniform. As they stand side by side, Shizono starts thanking Yui for her help on some tasks. He even pulls Matsugo into the conversation and asks for his opinion on Yui's skills. Matsugo gives a carefully measured compliment, praising her just enough without revealing anything. But then he notices Yui's ears turning bright red, a dead giveaway that she's blushing intensely. Eventually, the elevator gets more crowded, forcing the two closer together. In a brief moment, when nobody is looking, they manage to hold hands secretly for a few seconds. After a few more days, the busy period finally ends. Matsugo and Yui get on the phone to plan a movie date. Yui suggests that they should start calling each other by their first names when they're in private. Matsugo feels a little nervous about the change, but agrees. On the night of their date, Yui arrives early, looking fresh and lovely. When Matsugo sees her, he compliments how good she looks in her dress, causing Yui to blush with embarrassment. Trying to ease the tension, he asks what movie she picked. Yui tells him it's the horror film they agreed on, but she accidentally calls him by his last name. Matsugo is a little disappointed, so he gently reminds her of their new rule by calling her Yui. Hearing her first name from him for the first time sends her into a flustered panic. During the movie, he's distracted by the fact that after 6 years of liking this girl, they still can't comfortably use their first names. But during one particularly terrifying scene in the movie, he feels Yui grip his hand like a little kid. After the movie, Matsugo teases her about being scared, making her blush yet again. He then tries to ask her out for dinner, but just then, they are met by Sei, a former senior colleague from Yui's office. Sei greets Yui warmly, and Matsugo's anxiety immediately spikes, terrified their secret is about to blow up. To his horror, Sei notices him too, and cheerfully invites them both to dinner. Throughout the meal, Sei praises Yui for her outstanding work, and Matsugo's internal jealousy meter increases. He also finds out that Sei and Yui used to date a few years ago. Matsugo watches how happy and relaxed Yui is talking to Sei, and feels a sting of envy. When Sei mentions he saw a movie earlier, Matsugo and Yui awkwardly deny watching the same film. As dinner ends, Sei, who is clearly not an idiot, gives them a wink of approval before leaving. Finally alone, Yui musters up the courage to call Matsugo by his first name. He can't resist teasing her for taking so long, pointing out how easily she was saying Sei's name all night. This leaves the chick flustered, but Matsugo starts leaning in closer. Yui stops him, reminding him of their strict no public displays of affection rule. Matsugo agrees, but cheekily suggests they can continue back at his place. The next morning, he wakes up to find Yui looking both embarrassed and adorable. He teases her relentlessly before they have to get ready for work. While waiting for the train, Matsugo notices she's still in yesterday's clothes and worries people might start rumors. However, the girl reassures him that she has a spare outfit in her locker at work. To avoid being seen together, they take separate trains. As Matsugo boards, he spots their co-worker Maria among the passengers and feels a surge of gratitude that she didn't see him with Yui. He then glances back at his girlfriend, feeling thankful that their secret relationship is getting stronger. Another morning begins, and for Matsugo and Yui, That means another day of navigating their relationship. Their commute starts with an accidental bump, as they find themselves in a moment of indecision on whether to acknowledge each other or pretend to be strangers. The two ultimately settle for a weak good morning before continuing their separate paths to the office. After another day of maintaining their facade, the two meet at a bar to unwind. Matsugo notices Yui trying to suppress a yawn as she looks more tired than usual. She explains she's in the final stages of a big project, launching a new snack product. This is a huge milestone for her as it's the first product that's being launched under her leadership. Just then, a colleague gives her a hot tip. The accounting department has a secret weapon, someone with an incredible palate for snacks. Back in accounting, Matsugo is helping Shizuno move boxes when Yui walks in. Matsugo briefly hopes she's there for him, but Yui walks right past him and approaches Maria. Yui explains she was sent to Maria for some expert advice. Without hesitation, Maria samples 2 versions of the product. She analyzes them like a scientist. At last, she confidently recommends the one with coconut toppings. Yui is completely blown away by Maria's hidden talent and diligently takes notes for future reference. Before leaving, Yui compliments Maria, mentioning her popularity among online snack reviewers. This immediately flusters Maria, who begs Yui to keep her secret. She explains that her bubbly, snack-loving online persona is the polar opposite of her serious work image, and she doesn't want her coworkers to treat her differently because of her girly online activities. Amused by Maria's unexpected shyness, Yui promises her secret is safe. On the other hand, Maria is also shocked because she only saw Yui as the intimidating woman who was constantly at Matsugo's throat. As they chat, Maria claims that she understands why Yui is so rude to him. She thinks that Matsugo is a creep. Yui agrees on the surface, but her face tells a different story. With a smile, she thinks about how Matsugo's traits are actually the thing she loves about him during their private time. As Maria lists more of his supposed flaws, Yui is having a full-blown internal reaction. Relieved that her secret is safe, Yui starts worrying that everyone in Matsugo's department find him annoying. But just as she starts to feel bad, Maria flips the script and starts complimenting him, noting he's always the first to help when someone needs assistance. Yui quietly admits she knows this, recalling the moment he helped her with a stack of papers, the very event that sparked her crush on him. As Maria continues praising Matsugo, Yui's professional facade cracks. She starts fidgeting with her pencil and launches into a passionate rant about how kind Matsugo is, listing all his great qualities. Maria gets confused seeing this, and she asks Yui to stop. Later that evening, Yui is over at Matsugo's place. After dinner, she notices his shoulders are bothering him and offers to give him a massage. Yui gets to work immediately, and Matsugo seems to enjoy himself a bit too much. When he asks the girl why she needed Maria's help earlier, Yui vaguely explains it was for her new product. Yui carefully omits Maria's secret identity as a snack guru. Matsugo asks why she's being so considerate. Yui explains she saw him moving equipment earlier and wanted to reward him. Then she shyly admits it's hard to resist touching him at work. This makes Matsugo blush, and realizing what she just implied, Yui turns beet red and quickly suggests he can give her a massage when she's done. A few days later, Yui is in a great mood, distributing improved snack samples at work. However, Matsugo is having a terrible day, as his report gets rejected by the deputy director. Feeling dejected, he returns to his seat where his colleagues try to console him, but he eventually retreats to the vending machine to clear his head. Yui happens to walk by, and his friends brace for a scolding. Instead, she surprises everyone by walking over with a bright smile, handing out samples of her new snack. After the others praise it, Yui offers one directly to Matsugo, but he gives a dry review, calling the snack just fine. Annoyed by this comment, Yui demands a more detailed critique. Finally, Matsugo points out that the chocolate topping is a bit messy and shows her the stain on his thumb. While his friends dismiss it, Yui agrees it's a valid point and thanks him before heading off. Inspired by her determination, Matsugo returns to his desk, ready to tackle his report again. That evening, Shizuno invites Matsugo and Maria out for drinks. Coincidentally, they run into Yui's team at the same restaurant. Shizuno playfully tries to get the two rivals to interact. Matsugo ends up chatting with Yui's coworker, Kazuki, a quiet new guy. He learns that Yui is a caring and welcoming person on her team, the one who convinced Kazuki to join their outings. Hearing his girlfriend praised like this makes Matsugo swell with pride, but when he glances at her table, he sees a graveyard of empty beer glasses. Suddenly, she stumbles toward the washroom. Worried, Matsugo follows and finds her crouching by the sink. He offers to help her back, but she stubbornly refuses, not wanting to worry her coworkers. Matsugo finds her defiance adorable and teases her while rubbing her back. She worries about being caught, but Matsugo reassures her. Then, under the influence of liquid courage, Yui declares that she's staying at his place tonight and promptly passes out. At that exact moment, Kazuki exits the men's room, catching Matsugo red-handed with an unconscious Yui. With no way to deny the obvious, Matsugo confirms that they are together. The next day, Matsugo tells Yui their secret is out. This causes her to panic, and she suggests that they deal with Kazuki. However, Matsugo calms her down, assuring her that Kazuki isn't a gossip. Later, he finds Kazuki by the vending machines and again requests that he keep their secret. Kazuki wonders why they're hiding it, and Matsugo explains they want to maintain a professional image, especially for Yui's sake. Hearing the sincerity in his voice, Kazuki promises to stay quiet, adding that he wants to protect Yui as well. As Matsugo walks away, a new thought crosses his mind: marrying Yui. It's another busy day in the planning department, and while Yui's team has created a great new snack, they're now stuck on package design. Yui pushes for a trendy, eye-catching look, but the bosses, including Kazuki, want something more traditional. Just as Yui is about to argue her case, she remembers that Kazuki is the one person who knows about her dating life. Deciding it's a bad idea to antagonize the guy holding her personal life in his hands, she bites her tongue and agrees to consider his more boring design for now. After work, Matsugo arrives at Yui's place with a box of donuts from a shop she's been obsessing over. While she's in the kitchen plating them, he looks around her apartment and notices her collection of Mr. Rabbit toys has grown. He reflects that her space, filled with things she loves, feels vibrant and alive compared to his own, which has the personality of a sparse room. Soon, Yui returns with the donuts, but her mood shifts from cheerful to intensely serious as she deliberates which one to eat first. When she finally picks a maple-flavored one, she transforms back into the bubbly girl he loves. Matsugo is completely captivated by how her face broadcasts every emotion over a simple dessert. He asks the chick if she's always loved snacks this much, and she admits her passion really took off after joining the company. She then turns the question on Matsugo, and he realizes he doesn't actually care for snacks. He claims that he bought them just to see her happy. Taking a bite of a chocolate donut, Matsugo is genuinely surprised by how good it tastes, and Yui, finding it completely adorable, leans in and kisses him. Realizing what she just did, she jumps up and offers to make more coffee. Still processing the surprise, Matsugo just smiles, realizing how every new side of her makes him fall for her even harder. As they finish the meal, Yui begins to vent. She admits feeling like she's walking on eggshells around Kazuki. Matsugo simply listens to her ramblings, reassuring her that Kazuki promised to keep their secret. He gently pats her head, fondly remembering that Kazuki had even hinted they might get married someday, a thought that still makes him blush. The next day, however, Yui's paranoia is back at full throttle. During a team meeting, she's sitting across from Kazuki, convinced Matsugo was holding something back about their conversation. Instead of focusing, she just keeps throwing suspicious glances his way. Her internal conspiracy theory is interrupted when a teammate mentions that Yui has been raving about the donuts. Hearing this, Yui freezes, but then explains how a friend brought them. A split second later, panic sets in as she realizes Kazuki might have connected the dots. Yui insists the friend is a female acquaintance, but it looks like her nervous eyes are giving the whole game away. Kazuki, who was just trying to survive the meeting, pieces it all together. He sighs internally, realizing being their secret keeper is going to be a full-time job, especially since Yui clearly doesn't trust him. Later, two teammates are summoned, leaving them with a mountain of paperwork. The room is filled with an awkward silence. Finally, Kazuki asks if she finds him unreliable. Realizing she's offended him, Yui slaps her cheeks to hype herself up and apologizes. She explains her anxiety is just because this is her first secret relationship, not because she distrusts him. The mood finally lightens and Kazuki warns her that if she keeps wearing her emotions so openly, everyone will figure out her secret without his help. Meanwhile, in the accounting department, Matsugo is sent to the warehouse archives. On his way out, a loud crash leads him to a nearby room where he finds Yui on the floor, having clearly lost a fight with a pile of boxes. After a brief, excited greeting, they switch back to professional mode. Matsugo sees the utter chaos of her department storage and silently wonders how they function. He then starts helping her clean up, ignoring her protest about being seen together. While sorting the papers, he finds an old flag and Yui's face lights up as she recognizes it from her first sales event. Later, she insists on organizing a high shelf by herself, asking Matsugo to hold the ladder. As she climbs, Matsugo feels a wave of relief that he's the only one there. When he points out her wardrobe choice, the girl freezes, and she falls right into his arms like a cat caught in a fire. The proximity is intense, and just as they're about to kiss, her friends burst into the room. They immediately dive behind some boxes. Matsugo struggles to stay balanced without touching her, but Yui whispers for him to grab her if he needs to maintain his balance. They remain perfectly still until her friends finally leave, breathing a sigh of relief. They agree that keeping their distance at work is definitely the safer option. A few days later, their colleague Shizuno announces she has tickets to a baseball game. Matsugo loves baseball and is secretly excited about the event. At the game, he enthusiastically explains the rules to a clueless Yui. When their team scores, he grabs her hand in excitement, but immediately starts panicking. However, he is soon relieved to see that their coworkers are too engrossed to notice. Later, while getting snacks, Matsugo suggests holding hands in the crowded concourse, arguing it's less suspicious in the chaos. When their team hits a home run, Matsugo forgets everything and hugs Yui. Luckily, Shizuno is just as excited and joins the hug. As they sit back down, Yui leans in and whispers that next time they should go to a game alone. A few days later, Yui and her friends hit up a convenience store for lunch. But while her friends are deciding between a sad-looking sandwich and instant noodles, Yui is on a secret mission. She discreetly checks the shelves for her newly launched snack product, only to have her heart sink into her stomach. The display is practically untouched, suggesting that her product is failing. Realizing that people are not interested in her hard work ruins her mood for the rest of the day. The next morning, Shizuno starts her day early as usual. As she's walking from the train station, she bumps into a male colleague who compliments her on her dedication. She just chuckles and modestly brushes it off. After some lighthearted chatter, Shizuno makes up a quick excuse about needing to make a stop and goes off into a small cafe. She is relieved to finally get a quiet moment to herself. Shizuno then settles into a booth, ready for some alone time with a coffee, but her plans are immediately disrupted when Kazuki walks in. The waitress, clearly assuming anyone from the same company must be best friends, seats him in the exact same booth. Shizuno sighs internally, but forces a polite smile as she feels her solo paradise officially invaded. Their morning gets even more awkward when they both try to order at the same time, leading to a cringe-worthy standoff over who gets to order first. On the other hand, Yui is on the train, anxiously scrolling through her phone like a possessed woman. She's desperately searching online for any review about her new snack, but all she finds is digital silence. As if her morning wasn't bad enough, she then bumps into Matsugo. They exchange polite, work-appropriate greetings, but Matsugo immediately notices something is off. He asks if something is bothering her, but the girl just blames her mood on overtime. Matsugo can tell she's hiding something, so he tries to shift the conversation to her new product, but her half-hearted agreement and tone scream that things are not going well. Back at the cafe, Shizuno and Kazuki receive their food and discover they've ordered the exact same meal. This makes the situation even more awkward than before. Desperate to break the tension, Shizuno starts chattering aimlessly. However, Kazuki gently interrupts her, pointing out that her food is getting cold. He even reassures her that she doesn't need to force a conversation because he actually prefers quiet mornings. Finally, a wave of relief washes over Shizuno as they find some common ground in their mutual love of quiet. She then pulls out her laptop to get some work done, and Kazuki pulls out a book, and for a moment they exist in a comfortable silence. As time passes, Kazuki eventually closes his book and announces he's heading to the office. But before he leaves, he surprises Shizuno by saying he enjoyed their breakfast and that his opinion of her has shifted. Shizuno freezes in shock as the comment hits her. She eventually realizes that Kazuki is referencing her embarrassing behavior at the baseball game. As he walks out the door, Shizuno is left worrying about how Kazuki perceives her. At the office, Yui is glued to her desk, manically refreshing the webpage tracking her product's performance. Even with Maria's online influence helping to promote it, there's still no buzz. On top of that, her frustration boils over when she overhears another department celebrating its own successful product launch. Drowning in jealousy and despair, Yui starts drafting an email to her bosses to explain why her product is failing. Just as she's deep in thought, Kazuki suddenly appears at her desk. This freaks her out so much that Yui slams her laptop shut. Without a formal greeting, he dumps a stack of documents on her desk, tells her they've been assigned a new data entry job, and then walks away, leaving Yui simmering with rage. As she works through the mind-numbing data, her irritation grows when a well-meaning teammate offers her some chocolates. Yui finally snaps. She refuses to eat those chocolates so loudly that the entire office goes silent. However, immediate regret hits her. That evening, Yui shows up at Matsugo's place unannounced. Looking completely drained, he welcomes her in and starts preparing food and drinks. As soon as he hands her a beer, the floodgates open. Yui launches into a massive rant, venting about how her boss dumped extra work on her, how no one in the office even noticed her product launch, and how her coworkers were all celebrating some other less innovative product. Her voice grows louder as she complains about seeing her snack sitting untouched on convenience store shelves, gathering dust. Finally, her words falter and tears start streaming down her face. Matsugo, taken aback by the depth of her despair, gently reassures her that it's normal to be upset. He reminds her that the company does care about her product because the market can be unpredictable. The next day, feeling a little more optimistic, Yui heads to a convenience store to buy snacks as a peace offering for her coworkers. While browsing, she overhears two students debating whether to buy the snack she launched. Yui's heart pounds as she watches them, and to her absolute delight, they decide to buy it. Overwhelmed with a tiny sliver of validation, she smiles to herself. During lunch, Yui's friends are chatting about how busy they've been, but her ears perk up when she hears Matsugo's name mentioned at the table next to them. She subtly leans in to eavesdrop and hears a group of girls praising her boyfriend for being reliable, tall, and all-around likable. But as the conversation continues, she realizes their admiration might be bordering on infatuation. A knot of worry tightens in her chest. Her friends notice her eavesdropping and agree that Matsugo is indeed a catch, which only makes Yui feel more self-conscious. She then looks down at her own casual attire and minimal makeup and begins to feel plain. She starts having this newfound insecurity rising within her as she wonders if she's doing enough to keep his interest. That evening, Matsugo senses something is off the moment he sees Yui. She's seated neatly in his room, dressed far more elegantly than usual. Before he can ask what's wrong, she tries to set a romantic mood, but he completely misinterprets her intentions and just turns down the air conditioner. She tries again, hinting that she's in the mood for intimacy, but this just makes him more concerned. Finally, Yui confesses. She explains that overhearing the girls in the cafeteria made her feel inadequate and insecure. Matsugo immediately assures her that she has nothing to worry about, reminding her that she's the one he loves. He admits he is also worried about how men in the office find her attractive. However, Matsugo assures her that there's no need for her to force herself to be someone she's not. His words trigger something in Yui, and she suddenly tackles him with a kiss. After a moment, she gets flustered and admits she might have gotten ahead of herself, but Matsugo, absolutely affected, carries her to the bed, happy that they are together. The next morning, Yui is lost in thought in the elevator when the same girls from the cafeteria get on. They're still praising Matsugo, but this time, instead of feeling jealous, Yui feels a quiet sense of pride. The elevator doors open again, and Matsugo himself steps in. He positions himself next to the girls, who immediately seize the opportunity to ask him about his weekends. Knowing Yui is listening, Matsugo casually mentions that he usually spends his weekends with his girlfriend. After he and the girls get off, Yui's friend immediately asks her if she heard that Matsugo has a girlfriend. Yui, playing it cool, simply remarks that it isn't surprising given how kind he is. Later, Matsugo is enjoying a rare, relaxing day at the office. The entire building seems to have collectively decided to check out for summer vacation, and the air is filled with excited chatter about upcoming trips. When his colleagues Maria and Shizuno turn their attention to him, asking about his own vacation plans, Matsugo's mind flashes back to the great vacation debate he had with Yui a month ago. The memory is a chaotic scene in Yui's apartment with travel pamphlets scattered everywhere. Matsugo had immediately shot down her first choice, Okinawa, pointing out that planning a beach trip during typhoon season is a terrible idea. However, Yui argued that her meticulously planned, jam-packed itinerary had plenty of indoor activities. Despite the rebuttal, Matsugo looked at her schedule, and instead of a vacation, he saw a military-grade operation with no room for relaxation. In contrast, his ideal trip was a laid-back getaway to Hokkaido filled with hot springs, scenic drives, and cozy restaurants. Yui, of course, found this idea completely boring. Growing tired of the argument, Matsugo made a classic mistake. He casually said they could go wherever she wanted, just to end the debate. Unfortunately, his offhanded tone made it sound like he couldn't care less, which only made things worse. Feeling dismissed, Yui declared that they should just cancel the whole trip if they couldn't find something they both enjoyed. Realizing his blunder, Matsugo immediately grabbed her hands, reassuring her that the destination didn't matter as long as they were together. Then he hesitantly admitted that what he really wanted was to experience a private bath with her since it would be their first trip as a couple. This confession completely disarmed Yui. To shift the mood, she teasingly invited him to take a bath with her right then and there, squeezed into her tiny bathtub. Matsugo couldn't help but think that a spacious hotel bath would be a significant upgrade, which led to Yui suggesting a new hotel in Yamanashi as the perfect compromise. Back in the present, Matsugo finally answers his colleagues, telling them he plans to visit his hometown Yamanashi. As the workday ends, Yui is buzzing with excitement, ready to go home and pack. But just as she's about to leave, chaos erupts. An emergency has broken out in the planning department, and her entire team is thrown into disarray. Her boss informs her and another colleague that they'll have to work overtime. And just like that, Yui's hopes of an early start to her vacation vanish. Meanwhile, Matsugo grows increasingly worried as hours pass with no word from Yui. She's left her phone in her bag, completely focused on the crisis at hand. The situation is so dire that her boss announces they'll likely have to work through the night. The reality of her canceled vacation starts to sink in, and though she knows Matsugo would understand, the disappointment is crushing. But instead of dwelling on it, she grits her teeth and pushes forward. Miraculously, an on-site team shows up to help, and with the extra support, they manage to finish everything just in time for Yui to catch the last train home. Exhausted but happy, she realizes her summer plans are still on. As she walks the quiet streets towards her apartment, a firm grip on her arm startles her. She turns to find Matsugo, who is worried like crazy. He'd been waiting for her, sick with anxiety after his messages went unanswered. Realizing that Yui was busy at the office, his worry melts into relief as he gently touches her face. Matsugo is relieved that the trip is still happening. The next morning, while our happy couple is embarking on their trip, Shizuno is enjoying a peaceful moment in her favorite cafe. Soon after, Kazuki arrives and takes a seat in front of her. When she learns he also decided to skip the summer crowds for an autumn vacation, she realizes how similar they are. They quietly enjoy their breakfast, an unspoken understanding forming between them. Meanwhile, Matsugo and Yui's vacation is in full swing. Their first stop is a dessert shop for a limited edition raindrop cake. Yui takes a spoonful as her eyes light up. Matsugo watches her, feeling a deep sense of happiness just being there with her, noticing a speck of powder on his cheek. Yui leans in and gently dabs it off. Just then, a small child nearby catches them in the act, and Yui, feeling bold, links her arm with Matsugo, playfully declaring that this is normal couple behavior. However, her confidence is immediately tested when a local TV reporter approaches them for an interview. Yui, who was so bold a moment ago, is suddenly overwhelmed by the idea of being on TV and panics, literally running away. As they continue their trip, Matsugo teases her about her over-the-top reaction, explaining it was just a small local network, but her embarrassment quickly fades when they arrive at a vast field of sunflowers. Yui dashes ahead, taking picture after picture, while Matsugo hangs back, completely captivated by the sight of her. Overcome with affection, he rushes up and kisses her, catching her completely off guard. That evening, they check into their cozy hotel, complete with a much-anticipated private bath. As they relax, Matsugo grows uncharacteristically shy. He brings up a memory from their company's training camp years ago, confessing that it was the night they were left alone that he felt hopelessly in love with her. Yui is stunned by his sincerity, and feeling bold, she scoots closer and presses a kiss to his lips. The next morning, they take a short detour around the countryside. Yui excitedly buys more snacks than any human could possibly need, and her eyes land on a grape stand. Matsugo visibly stiffens, wondering if it belongs to his family, who happen to grow and sell grapes. Yui buys some anyway, and as she tries one, her eyes widen in surprise at the incredible sweetness. Matsugo proudly claims his family's grapes are even better, and Yui finds herself wanting to visit again, not just for the sights, but to meet his family and taste their famous grapes. On their last morning, Yui decides she'd rather have one more soak in their private hot bath than get up early. As they relax in the bath, she admits the trip has left her energized and ready to tackle work. Matsugo, inspired by her hardworking nature, admits he's been thinking about taking a higher certification exam to help him rise through the ranks faster. This sparks an idea in Yui's mind, so she proposes a wager. They each set a goal for the next year, and if one of them fails, they have to pay for their next trip back to Yamanashi. Seeing the excitement on her face, Matsugo gladly agrees to the deal. When they return to the office, Matsugo's coworkers notice his tan. To his surprise, Maria not only shares souvenirs from her own trip, but also announces she has some for Yui, revealing an unexpected bond between them. Matsugo's eyes widen in horror as he realizes what's about to happen. His fears are confirmed when Maria later shows up with snacks from Yui, enthusiastically talking about how much Yui enjoyed her trip to Yamanashi. As Matsugo listens, a blush creeps onto his cheeks. He silently vows to work his hardest so that he and Yui can enjoy many more vacations together. One evening, Yui and Matsugo are in full-on power couple mode, sitting side by side at their table, completely immersed in their work. Matsugo is cramming for his certification exam like a college student during finals week, while Yui is meticulously reviewing data, fine-tuning a proposal for a big presentation. The only sounds of their apartment are the turning of pages and the frantic tapping of Yui's laptop, both of them laser-focused on winning the bet they made on vacation. The next morning, Yui confidently presents her ideas for a new product to her section chief. She's nervous, but her efforts are met with surprisingly positive feedback. There are still revisions to be made, but she walks out of the meeting feeling encouraged. However, her good mood is slightly dampened when she overhears some colleagues praising a newer staff member for a different, highly successful product. A pang of doubt creeps in, but she quickly reminds herself that progress is progress, no matter how small. Later, Yui and her boss Iroh are heading to a meeting with a new business development department. Yui is excited, but Iroh is groaning, muttering, and moaning about how he doesn't get along with Hayomi, the department's representative. Hayomi is a former sales superstar known for his sharp instincts and a no-nonsense approach. As soon as the meeting starts, he proves his reputation, taking one look at their data and immediately calling it too complicated. He then proceeds to list all the ways they need to simplify their process. His firm voice leaves no room for argument. Yui is fascinated by his brutal efficiency and can only look at him in awe. Iroh, however, tries to fight back, arguing that their complicated process exists for a reason, but Hayomi relentlessly picks it apart, claiming some procedures are completely unnecessary. The conversation gets heated until Iroh suddenly has to take a call, leaving Yui alone with the shark. What happens next catches her completely off guard. Hayomi looks directly at her and offers her a position in his department. He explains that he's been keeping an eye on her work and was impressed by her last product proposal. He argues that in her current department, it could take years for her to get noticed, but in his new development department, she could make an immediate impact and get the recognition she deserves. Yui is stunned into silence. The idea of switching departments is overwhelming, and she has no idea how to respond. That evening, Yui meets up with Matsugo at a department store to check out some of the products from Hayomi's department. Matsugo is genuinely impressed by the quality, and Yui can't help but feel a wave of conflict. The products are undeniably on another level, and the temptation to transfer to his department is strong. But leaving her current role feels like a betrayal of her past efforts and her colleagues. The thought of unfinished projects, office gossip, and most importantly, the bet she made with Matsugo leaves her completely flustered. Before she can spiral, Matsugo gently pinches her cheeks, breaking her train of thought and telling her to stop worrying about what others think and decide for herself. The next morning, an unexpected email from Hayomi appears in her inbox filled with extensive materials and valuable insights related to her project. But before she can process it, Yui gets a phone call that sends a wave of panic through her. She completely forgot to complete a task from the previous day, causing a delay in a major project. She is then called into the section chief's office and feels utterly humiliated for making such a basic error after 6 years with the company. Her colleagues offer their support, but the mistake eats her up. That evening, Yui makes an unplanned visit to Matsugo's place, seeking comfort. Overwhelmed by her failures at work, she pleads with him to help her forget the awful day. But even in his embrace, her worries refuse to fade. Sensing her turmoil, Matsugo playfully rubs her head and tells her that as long as she's reflecting on her actions, she's on the right path. The next morning, Yui unexpectedly crosses paths with Hayomi, who immediately asks if she's given any thought to his offer. He invites her to an upcoming seminar, hoping it will help her decide. Before she can respond, he notices the proposal she's carrying. She admits she missed the submission deadline and has given up on it, but he disagrees, insisting that good ideas are always valuable and urges her to submit it anyway. When Yui hesitates, Hayomi takes a more direct approach and flat-out calls her a coward. The remark stings, but it works. Determined to prove him wrong, Yui marches straight to her section chief's office. As she predicted, her boss is skeptical. He points out that she still has revisions to do on other projects, and her workload is already packed. But for the first time, Yui stands her ground. She insists she can handle it and finally admits that she would rather dedicate herself to this new proposal than continue with her existing responsibilities. The section chief, surprised by her sudden ambition, agrees to consider it and even offers to adjust her workload. Yui walks back to her desk with a renewed sense of purpose, suspecting that Hayomi orchestrated the entire situation to push her into taking action. That evening, she rewards herself with a slice of cake from one of Hayomi's product lines. The next day, she visits Hayomi to formally decline his offer to transfer, explaining that she has decided to launch another product within her own department. However, Yui surprises him by asking to join his seminar anyway, eager to learn from his department's expertise. Hayomi is amused by her determination but makes it clear that if she plans to benefit from his department's knowledge, he expects to benefit from hers as well. By the end of a long and exhausting week, Yui and Matsugo reward themselves with a visit to a stone spa. As the warmth and relaxation seep into their tired muscles, Matsugo watches Yui truly unwind for the first time in a while. Her usual work-focused mindset fades away, replaced by an affectionate and playful demeanor as she clings to him. She playfully argues that being with him is the only healing she really needs. One evening, Yui and Matsugo are supposed to go on a date, but Yui gets roped into a last-minute project. Matsugo has all the time in the world, so he decides to treat himself to some alone time at a small chicken skewer place. As he is savoring the rare moment of alone time, a hiking commercial on the TV catches his eye. His thoughts immediately drift to Yui, and he has to scold himself for thinking about his girlfriend even when he is supposed to be on his own. However, his peace is soon interrupted by a group of men at a nearby table grumbling about their wives. Matsugo idly wonders if he will end up the same, but when he pictures his future with Yui, all he can imagine is a warm, happy life. Just then, one of the complaining husbands gets a call from his wife and immediately rushes off to pick her up from the station. Seeing this, Matsugo just grins, realizing that love can be complicated and often contradictory. An hour later, he meets Yui at the station. The chick is tired but brightens up when she sees him, even though her expression quickly sours into a pout when she smells the scent of alcohol on his breath. She complains that she was looking forward to drinking with him, so, to appease her, he offers to treat her to anything she wants. Yui's mood instantly lifts, and she declares she wants the fanciest meal imaginable: wine, cheese, and a tasty dessert. After their indulgent dinner, they stroll through the streets, admiring the Christmas decorations. Yui pauses by a shop window, admiring some delicate accessories, and Matsugo suddenly realizes that nearly 6 months have passed since they started dating. On the train ride home, he overhears a group of girls gushing about their boyfriend's anniversary surprises, and a light bulb goes off in his head. Their 6-month anniversary is just around the corner, and with Christmas coming up, it is the perfect time to plan to give Yui a gift. The next day at work, Matsugo is already scrolling through his phone, grinning as he imagines Yui's reaction to a surprise. He is so lost in his own world that he does not notice Maria approaching when she asks what has him in such a good mood. Matsugo panics and tries to play it cool by asking her what kind of surprise gift she would like to receive. This question only makes him look more suspicious to both Maria and Shizuno. Later that evening, while relaxing with Yui, he notices she does not wear many accessories and starts imagining how cute she would look with earrings or a necklace. When she heads to the bathroom, Matsugo pulls out his phone again, but she suddenly returns, startling him so much he almost drops it. Unaware of his secret mission, Yui invites him to a dessert event on Saturday. The dude hesitates before declining, claiming he needs to study for his exams when, in reality, he plans to use that time to go gift shopping. On Saturday, Matsugo finds himself completely overwhelmed in the jewelry section of a department store. A helpful saleslady notices his deer-in-the-headlights expression and offers to help. As he envisions Yui wearing different types of jewelry, he finds himself drawn to a simple, elegant pair of couple rings. The saleslady suggests it is a meaningful gift, and without much more thought, he decides to buy it. She even offers an engraving service and suggests he leave the rings with him until he can confirm Yui's ring size, which he happily agrees to. Meanwhile, Yui, who just finished up at the dessert event with her friend, is heading to a cafe when she glances across the street and suddenly spots Matsugo. The next day, Matsugo is lost in daydreams, envisioning the perfect romantic date where he presents Yui with the rings. In reality, he is at her place, secretly planning to measure her ring size while she sleeps. However, Yui is already suspicious. She found it odd that he insisted on coming over despite his study schedule. Her suspicions deepen even more when he casually claims he was home all day, directly contradicting what she saw earlier. He eagerly coaxes her to bed, and once she finally drifts off, he carefully measures her finger. In the middle of the night, Yui wakes up to see him on his phone again, and the feeling of unease in her chest grows stronger. The next day, Yui cannot shake the feeling that Matsugo is hiding something. While Matsugo is blissfully unaware of her feelings, completely absorbed in planning the perfect surprise, his plan is already falling apart. He cannot get a reservation at the restaurant he wanted, and his frustration is mounting. He gets a message from Yui asking to meet, but he quickly replies that he is busy, insisting they wait until Friday. Without checking for a response, he rushes out to pick up the rings, barely making it to the store before it closes. The weight of the small box in his hands brings a brief sense of excitement, which is immediately shattered when Yui unexpectedly appears behind him. The annoyed chick finally confronts him, demanding to know why he was in town on Saturday when he claimed to be studying. He scrambles for an excuse, but her stern gaze tells him she is not buying it. Yui insists on knowing what he is hiding behind his back, and he panics, knowing the timing for the gift is all wrong. His reluctance to show her only fuels her frustration, and Yui declares she is spending the entire evening with him to make sure he cannot hide anything else. Then her expression changes from anger to vulnerability, and she admits how much his secrecy has been affecting her. For the first time, a real doubt crosses her mind. What if Matsugo wants to break up with her? Realizing the massive misunderstanding, Matsugo immediately presents her with a gift bag. Inside, she finds a jewelry box with 2 silver bands, each engraved with their names. Matsugo is now embarrassed by his own grand gesture, but he tells Yui that she cannot wear it during workdays. But to his surprise, Yui promises to wear the ring every day. A wave of relief washes over him as she apologizes, admitting their anniversary had completely slipped her mind. The moment the door closes behind them, they waste no time. As they finally reach the bed, Yui interrupts him with a question, asking about his original plans. Matsugo admits he wanted to take her to a fancy restaurant, but was fully booked. She just smiles, assuring him that she already feels incredibly loved as an alarm on his phone goes off displaying midnight and officially marking their 6-month anniversary. Yui lifts his hand, kisses his ring, and whispers that she hopes to spend eternity loved by him. The next day, Yui confidently presents her new snack ideas to her section chief. He praises the concept but points out that the slogan lacks impact. The critique sends her back to her desk as her shoulders slump in disappointment, but then her eyes land on the silver band on her finger. A comforting warmth spreads through her chest. Yui had never been a fan of gifts, but now she understands how nice it is to have a tangible symbol of their love. Later during their break, her friends immediately notice the new ring. Yui finally confesses that she has been in a relationship for the past 6 months. Her friends are extremely supportive, and none of them are surprised, teasing that they already suspected she had a boyfriend all along. Their words make Yui's cheeks flush as they remark on how much her boyfriend must love her. Yui feels giddy at their remarks, feeling a warm sense of happiness at being able to openly talk about her relationship now, even if she keeps Matsugo's identity a secret. Unbeknownst to them, over in the accounting department, Matsugo sits at his desk wearing a matching ring as a necklace tucked safely beneath his dress shirt. After a late night at work, Matsugo heads home through streets illuminated with festive lights, a clear reminder that Christmas is just around the corner. It suddenly hits him that this will be his and Yui's first Christmas as a couple, and he starts brainstorming ways to make it special. Later that night, he calls her up and casually brings up the holiday, but to his surprise, Yui seems completely uninterested. She just mentions that since Christmas falls on a weekday, they will probably be too busy with work. Her nonchalant attitude leaves Matsugo puzzled as he was fully expecting her to be excited. The next morning, the holiday spirit is nowhere to be found. Shizuno arrives at the office, groaning about an upset stomach from too much drinking the night before. With the holiday season in full swing, she has been drowning in party invitations and an ever-increasing workload, a sentiment shared by everyone in the office. Later that evening, Yui stops by Matsugo's apartment for a much-needed visit, but when he offers for her to stay the night, she declines, explaining she has an early meeting. As they eat, Matsugo asks for an update on her latest product proposal. Yui admits she has been keeping herself busy to avoid dwelling on the anxiety of waiting for the results, but has only made her more swamped with work. Soon, her eyes drift to a stack of study books on Matsugo's desk, and she teases him about being a last-minute crammer. He fires back that she must be talking about herself, as he prefers to plan ahead. Hearing this, Yui freezes, realizing he has just called her out on her own bad habits. The next day, Shizuno and Kazuki meet at their usual coffee shop. She slides a CD across the table to him, and they chat easily about music. Shizuno feels a familiar wave of comfort, realizing she enjoys these mornings with him a little too much. Abruptly, she stands to leave, and he mirrors her movement. Mindful of office gossip, she suggests he leave ahead of her. As Shizuno watches him go, a sense of unease creeps in. She has grown too comfortable with Kazuki, and the 8-year age gap only adds to her hesitation. When she catches herself thinking about his smile, she quickly crushes the thought, reminding herself of the professional line between them. Later that evening, the sight of couples strolling hand in hand under the Christmas lights only brings her thoughts back to Kazuki. She wonders if he has plans for the holiday before scolding herself for even entertaining the idea. A painful memory flashes through her mind, solidifying her decision to cut ties. If she stops meeting him for breakfast, maybe these feelings will die before they can fully bloom. The next morning, Kazuki is sitting at their usual cafe table, but he is puzzled to see Shizuno absent. Back at the office, Shizuno is startled when Kazuki shows up in her department to collect fees for the year-end party. Not ready to face him, she hastily hands over the documents, keeping their interaction as brief as possible. In the elevator, Matsugo and Yui discuss the upcoming party, which their departments will be celebrating together. He expresses his concern that Yui, who tends to get a little wild when she drinks, might accidentally expose their secret relationship. However, Yui is confident she can handle her liquor in a professional setting without slipping up. When the elevator doors open, they instinctively step apart, but Matsugo worries they might be trying too hard to appear distant. At the party, both Matsugo and Shizuno find themselves seated uncomfortably close to the objects of their affection. Shizuno notices Matsugo is not drinking much, but before she can ask what is wrong, his attention shifts to Yui, and he immediately spots the ring he gave her on her finger. Soon after, the conversation turns to the baseball game from months ago, and Matsugo suddenly recalls hugging Yui in a moment of pure excitement, completely forgetting their coworkers were watching. When he glances at Yui, she is chatting with Maria, seemingly unaware of his momentary panic. When the group orders another round of drinks, Shizuno and Kazuki both request ginger ale at the same time. Realizing this, Shizuno hastily changes her order to oolong tea, leaving Kazuki wondering why she is not drinking. At another table, Matsugo and Yui are being teased about how close they must be since they joined the company at the same time. Yui handles it with a composed, playful response that impresses Matsugo so much he discreetly taps his foot against hers in silent approval. Their quiet moment is interrupted when a colleague asks Maria about her snack review account. Matsugo and Yui freeze, panicking that their own secret is about to be exposed, but to their relief, the conversation stays on snacks. Just as Matsugo thinks they are in the clear, the group excitedly decides to continue the night with karaoke. Yui subtly signals for him to decline, but he completely misses the cue and enthusiastically agrees to join. At the karaoke bar, Yui feels increasingly flustered under Matsugo's intense gaze. Trying to deflect, she suggests he sing a difficult song, but before he can respond, their boss eagerly claims it for himself. Kazuki then nudges Shizuno to sing, but she hesitates, overwhelmed by the idea of being in the spotlight. Just as she is about to refuse, Kazuki chooses a song from a band she loves. Overwhelmed by her emotions, the broad quickly excuses herself and steps outside. Alone in the hall, she tries to convince herself that his actions are meaningless, but he appears beside her, concerned about her odd behavior. Kazuki's worry only makes it harder for her to suppress her feelings. Meanwhile, another colleague is trying to get Maria to wear a cute outfit while she sings. Maria is visibly uncomfortable with this, so Yui steps in to defend her. To everyone's surprise, Maria chooses a school uniform outfit and performs with confidence and grace that captivates the entire room. Feeling accepted by the atmosphere, Yui slides closer to Matsugo and suggests they sing a duet. She almost immediately regrets it, but Matsugo is already scrolling through the song list. However, they end up performing together. On Christmas Eve, the office is as busy as ever. Matsugo wanders into the cafeteria to get some company-provided cake and is surprised to find Yui there. He tries to greet her, but the girl dismisses him with a cold response. He grabs a slice of cake and sits beside her. As they watch TV, he realizes that while his Christmas lacks the romantic flair he had hoped for, just being with her is enough. He then notices a bag of snacks from her first failed project. She admits she collected what was left from the shelves, not wanting her hard work to go to waste. Hearing this, Matsugo reassures her that she should be proud of it. For the first time, Yui admits that she has never truly enjoyed Christmas, as she usually spends it buried in work. But this year she feels different because she has someone. Just then, her phone buzzes with the news that her new proposal has been approved. To mark the occasion, Matsugo offers to buy her coffee, and for the first time, the holiday feels like something worth celebrating. Elsewhere, Shizuno runs into Kazuki, who asks why she has been absent from their usual cafe. She fumbles for an excuse, but Kazuki mentions he has been hoping to see her to return her CD. He shows no concern for potential rumors, saying they should be allowed to enjoy the same cafe. As he turns to leave, he promises to return the CD whenever they meet again. His words linger and Shizuno makes a sudden decision. She calls out to him and suggests they exchange numbers so he does not have to carry the CD around every day. As they exchange contacts, Shizuno quietly admits to herself that she has fallen for him and no longer cares about the consequences. Yui's work life takes a turn as she steps away from her desk to take on a hands-on role at a department store, slinging chocolates for the Valentine's Day rush. The whole thing started a few days prior when Hayomi, the shark from the new business development department, approached her with a deal. His team was completely swamped and short-staffed, and he saw Yui as the perfect candidate to help manage the chaos. In exchange for her help, Hayomi promised to give her valuable feedback on her own product proposal. Meanwhile, Matsugo's morning routine has shifted. He started studying before work, which means taking an earlier train to a quiet cafe. But when his usual spot is closed for renovations, he is forced to find an alternative. As he scans the area, a familiar sight stops him in his tracks. Inside a nearby cafe, he spots Shizuno and Kazuki having breakfast together, looking happy and completely at ease. The warmth in Shizuno's expression is something he has rarely seen. Just as he is trying to process it, Shizuno seems to notice something off. Seeing this, Matsugo reacts with all the grace of a cartoon character and ducks behind a wall to avoid being caught. His study session is a complete failure, as his mind keeps replaying the sight of his two colleagues together. At lunchtime, he finds Kazuki in the break room, as strange awkwardness settles between them. Matsugo struggles to find the right words to bring up what he saw, so he just stays quiet. Kazuki, on the other hand, starts talking about Matsugo's studies, which leads to a conversation about Shizuno's own skills and leadership position. Matsugo starts to think that maybe Kazuki just admires Shizuno professionally, so he casually mentions seeing them at the cafe that morning. However, Kazuki's slightly embarrassed reaction immediately sends Matsugo's thoughts spiraling back into conspiracy theory territory. On the other hand, Yui is still navigating the chaos of Valentine's Day sales when Maria shows up. Besides checking in on her, Maria buys some premium chocolates and casually remarks on how Matsugo always seems to be buried in his studies. Yui misses his presence, realizing it's been a while since she has been with him. Even though they have plans for Valentine's Day, she finds herself craving his company more than ever. Later, back at the office, she receives Hayomi's review of her product proposal, and her stomach tightens. The document is covered in red marks, indicating significant revisions are needed. At this point, the exhaustion of her double duty starts to weigh heavily on her. Another long day begins, and Yui is once again assigned to the department store. As she is working, her mind keeps drifting back to the mountain of corrections waiting for her, and the fact that she has not had any time to prepare for Valentine's Day. She observed the couple in the store, two professionals openly discussing their plans and introducing each other to colleagues, which makes her feel a little sad about her own secret relationship. By the time she gets home that evening, she collapses onto her bed, completely drained. She sees unread messages from Matsugo checking in on her, and a small flicker of happiness lights up. But as she tries to rest, her thoughts spiral back to the couple at the store and the reality of her situation with Matsugo. Unable to suppress her feelings any longer, Yui dials his number, telling herself she just needs to hear his voice. But the second he answers, a deeper craving takes over. Overwhelmed by emotions, she suggests that she wants to have an intimate conversation over the phone. The moment the words are out, she realizes what she said. On the other end, Matsugo is stunned into silence, completely blindsided by her bold suggestion. When he asks her to clarify, Yui is hit with a wave of mortifying embarrassment. She stammers, insisting she was not serious, and quickly hangs up. She then buries her face under a pillow, horrified by her own impulsive statement. The next morning, Yui is asked to deliver some documents to the accounting department. As she walks over, the memory of last night's phone call comes flooding back and she realizes she is not ready to face him. But of course, the moment she steps inside, Matsugo is the first person she sees. He greets her with a completely neutral expression, and even though she knows they have to maintain their act, the lack of warmth makes her feel bad. As she hands him the documents, their hands brush and she instinctively pulls back. On her way back to her department, she is scolding herself for being so obvious. Just as the elevator doors are about to close, Matsugo slips in beside her. He reaches for her hand, grasping it tightly, and reminds her that she can always talk to him freely. With this, Yui's heart softens, realizing he must have sprinted to catch the elevator just to have this small secret moment with her. Finally, Valentine's Day arrives. The final samples of her new Sakura-themed cookies are delivered to the office, and for a moment, she wants to bask in her achievement. But unfortunately, she has to head back to the department store for one last shift. As she travels, she gets a message from Matsugo asking to meet later, and a pang of guilt hits her as she realizes she has not had time to buy him any chocolates. When she arrives at the store, she is immediately swamped by last-minute shoppers. Yui worries that she will not be able to make it to her date. But then she sees the same happy couple from a few days ago. It reminds her to push aside her own frustrations and focus on her job. By the time the store closes, she is completely drained. She dashes off, too focused on reaching Matsugo to even stop for convenience store chocolates. When she finally gets to their meeting spot, she's out of breath and immediately apologizes for not having a gift. However, Matsugo simply hands her a drink and then points to the bag she is carrying filled with her cookie samples. He tells her that her hard-earned creation means more to him than any store-bought chocolate because he knows how much effort she put into it. Hearing this, Yui chuckles as a wave of relief washes over her. She realizes that because they work in the same place, he understands her struggles in a way no one else can. As they walk hand in hand, Matsugo suddenly suggests they should finally tell everyone they are dating. This suggestion catches her completely off guard, but he lets out a grin and says he is just joking. Laughter bubbles out of her and the imaginary tension she carried melts away, even if their relationship has to be a secret for now. Moments like these remind her that they are going to be just fine. One evening, Shizuno is out drinking with old schoolmates, enjoying the easy flow of conversation. But when the topic shifts to romance and someone asks about her boyfriend, the question catches her completely off guard and she is hit with a wave of unease. The next day at work, she finds herself rereading old messages from Kazuki. He had invited her to a concert for a band she loves, and she had agreed, telling herself it was only because it would be his first concert experience, but a small part of her wonders. She tries to push the thought away, convinced the age gap between them makes the idea of them being a couple completely impossible. Meanwhile, Matsugo is at home preparing for his upcoming exam. Despite all his preparations, his nerves are shot. He starts pacing, and his mind flashes back to all his past exam failures. Dwelling on these past failures only makes his anxiety worse. Just then, a message from Yui pops up wishing him luck, but his response is full of doom and gloom. A moment later, another message arrives. It is a picture of a fancy vacation room she wants to reserve, a not-so-subtle reminder of the bet they made. He looks up the price and immediately panics since it costs a significant amount. Immediately, Matsugo calls her up, and she just laughs, amused at how his motivation has shifted from passing the exam to avoiding financial ruin. After they hang up, Matsugo realizes he feels surprisingly confident. The sheer terror of paying for that ridiculously expensive hotel room has given him an unexpected burst of determination. While Matsugo is battling his inner demons, Shizuno is battling her wardrobe. She frets over what to wear to the concert, worrying that her old band shirt is too casual while everything else makes it look like she is trying too hard. She spends so much time agonizing over her outfit that she ends up running late. When she arrives, she spots Kazuki in casual wear, and the age gap between them feels more noticeable than ever. As they walk to the lockers, she becomes self-conscious, but then he compliments her relaxed look, and she decides to just let go and enjoy the day. During the concert, she can tell Kazuki is genuinely loving the music. When a rare bonus track starts to play, they both turn to each other at the same time, sharing a moment of pure excitement. At the end of the concert, Shizuno is visibly happy. As they are leaving, he suddenly pulls her out of the way of an oncoming bike, making her heart skip a beat. What surprises her even more is that he does not let go of her hand. He asks if they can go out again soon, and even though memories of her painful breakup with an ex-colleague come rushing back, she agrees. Matsugo, on the other hand, is back at his desk, cross-checking the exam questions from memory. With each correct answer, his confidence builds. He then gets a call from Yui, and they chat casually about their next vacation as the tension from the exam finally fades away. However, Shizuno arrives home and slams the door, completely frustrated with herself for getting entangled with a coworker again. Her previous relationship with a senior colleague ended in disaster. He had broken up with her out of nowhere, admitting he could not keep up with her success and felt demotivated by their relationship. Having to see him at work every day was pure torture, and the final blow came when he left the company without even telling her, long after he had moved on and gotten engaged. Thinking about it now, she forces herself to be rational, deciding to keep things strictly friendly with Kazuki. On Monday morning, Kazuki sits alone at their usual cafe booth, but she never shows. Later that day, she stays behind at work, and as she is finally heading home, she spots him near the train station, clearly waiting for her. They end up going out for a meal where Shizuno downs several glasses of alcohol, trying to keep the conversation light, but Kazuki disrupts her plan by making his feelings clear. Panicked, she reaches for more alcohol, and as the liquor takes hold, she blurts out everything: her fears, her struggles, and the hardships of an office romance. Noticing how unsteady she has become, Kazuki reaches out to check her forehead, but the simple touch flusters her even more, and she hides her face in her arms. In that moment, something shifts, and Kazuki realizes she feels the same way. The next thing she knows, Shizuno is waking up in an unfamiliar room. The last thing she remembers is drinking way too much with Kazuki by her side. Before she can fully process what happened, the door opens and Kazuki steps inside, fresh from a shower. He casually informs her that she drank herself unconscious, and he had no choice but to bring her to his place. Relief washes over her as she realizes nothing inappropriate happened. As he is offering to walk her home, he notices the strange expression on her face and realizes she must be thinking he took advantage of her. He firmly sets the record straight, but she tells him she is more worried about what embarrassing things she might have said while she was drunk. A faint blush creeps onto his face, and he looks away, hoping she will not notice. Before either of them can say anything, a woman enters the room, scolding Kazuki for not telling her Shizuno was awake. He introduces her as his mother, and Shizuno's embarrassment triples. She had hoped to make a good first impression, and instead, she is the drunk office lady who crashed at her son's place. She stumbles over her words, apologizing profusely before making a hasty exit. As they walk to the station, Kazuki apologizes for his own confession, admitting he felt guilty for being excited over her drunken words. Taking a deep breath, Shizuno decides to be honest. She turns to face him and confesses her feelings, admitting she appreciates his sincerity. Despite her fears, she makes the choice to give love another chance. Shizuno tells him about her past relationship and the painful history that made her so hesitant, reminding him that they will have to keep their own relationship a secret at the office. The next day at work, they exchange nothing more than their usual professional glances. That night, they meet for dinner, and Kazuki casually admits that he finds her really cool when she is in work mode. Shizuno just smiles, caught off guard by the compliment and enjoying this new beginning as she holds his hand. A few days later, Matsugo and Yui are staring at a computer screen in sheer amazement. The news that he actually passed the bookkeeping exam is washing over them. As the relief and joy set in, Yui immediately starts searching for their next vacation destination. After all, they both crushed their yearly goals, so a celebration is definitely in order. In her pure excitement, her fingers slip, and she accidentally reserves an absurdly luxurious suite that costs a significant amount. Pure panic immediately replaces the joy as she frantically tries to cancel the booking. The next evening, Matsugo is out for celebratory drinks with his work friends, eager to share his good news. The atmosphere is lively, filled with laughter and congratulations, and the mood gets even better when one of his friends makes his own announcement. He is planning to marry his childhood sweetheart. The joyous occasion lifts Matsugo's spirits, and for a fleeting moment, all his worries completely fade away. But the good vibes are not built to last. The very next morning, uncertainty creeps back in when a colleague casually mentions rumors of upcoming transfers, and apparently Matsugo's name is on the list of candidates. The thought of being shuffled off to a different department right after earning his shiny new certification is a serious buzzkill. He tries to shake it off, telling himself it is just baseless office gossip, but the lingering doubt remains. Throughout the day, he finds himself constantly glancing at Shizuno. As a senior in their department, she would likely be one of the first to hear if the rumors were true, but her calm, poker-faced demeanor offers no clues. Matsugo attempts to bury his anxiety under a mountain of work, but the rumors keep swirling. When Maria asks for his help with an account issue, he finally gets a distraction. Solving the problem reminds him of the satisfaction he finds in his job. But lunchtime brings a full-blown resurgence of the gossip. The chatter about HR's interest in transfers grows louder, and Matsugo can no longer dismiss it. That evening, he shares his concerns with Yui. While she listens attentively, she remains thoroughly unconvinced that the rumors hold any truth. She reminds him that workplace gossip is often exaggerated to the point of being pure fantasy and encourages him to focus on the facts. Despite her logical reassurance, Matsugo's thoughts continue to linger on the uncertainty. Her attempt to calm him backfires slightly when she recounts how Kazuki was abruptly transferred to her department with nothing more than a sudden phone call, leaving him with zero time to prepare. The next day, when the department phone rings, Matsugo's heart nearly falls out of his pants. The fear of receiving that dreaded call consumes him. When Maria finally answers, it turns out to be a simple request from another branch, and he can breathe again, but his relief is short-lived. A little later, Shizuno asks for a detailed list of his current tasks, explaining that she plans to reassign everything due to some upcoming departmental changes. Although she is vague, her sudden interest in his workload makes Matsugo's internal alarms go off. He interprets the entire conversation as a soft confirmation of his impending transfer, and silently accepts what he believes to be his fate. Despite Yui's continued skepticism, Matsugo resolves to just keep his head down until the inevitable call arrives. The next day, Maria approaches him for help with a particularly challenging task. As he guides her, he cannot help but feel a sense of pride, realizing that when he leaves, she will be ready to step up as a senior. Determined to savor his remaining time with his team, he casually invites her for a drink after work. Later that evening, as he walks home, his thoughts spiral. He wonders if his superiors view his current efforts as stagnant, and that this transfer is some kind of corporate wake-up call. The next morning, he is back at the office already devising a simplified system to streamline Maria's tasks in his absence. However, his sudden uncharacteristic burst of productivity is so intense that it is actually starting to worry his colleagues. Meanwhile, in the planning department, their boss Ichiro is telling his team about his new camping hobby, which quickly morphs into him suggesting they all go on a group camping trip. Matsugo, still busy preparing for his transfer, takes a break and runs into Yui. He finally unloads his feelings. He has made peace with the idea and believes he can adapt, crediting Yui for giving him the motivation to work hard in the first place. Yui just smiles, still not believing a word of the transfer rumors, and then extends Ichiro's camping invitation. Matsugo agrees, thinking it will be his last big outing as an accounting team member. The day of the camping trip arrives, and the group marvels at the beautiful scenery. Ichiro's wife Shirori, a former sales star from their company, is there with their kids. As the group unloads, Matsugo looks around and realizes just how close he has grown to everyone. Later, while most of the group is playing by the river, Shizuno spots Kazuki quietly reading a book. Instead of mingling with the others, he chooses to stay and spend time with her, and they soon find themselves entertaining one of Ichiro's kids. As dinner preparations begin, Yui finds herself working with Shirori to make curry. Shirori shares stories about her and Ichiro's own not-so-secret office romance, and then reveals her plan to surprise him with a birthday cake later that evening. Yui eagerly agrees to help, and soon Matsugo gets roped into the secret mission as well. Their odd conspiratorial behavior makes Ichiro suspicious, and their friends have to cleverly divert his attention to save the surprise. When the cake is finally presented, Ichiro is completely speechless, deeply touched by the gesture. As the night winds down, the group gathers around a bonfire, and the conversation turns to the joys of parenting. Matsugo listens thoughtfully, believing this might be the perfect moment to announce his own surprise about the transfer, but before he can, a colleague playfully remarks on how surprisingly well he and Yui get along, despite their reputation for being at odds at work. The comment makes both Matsugo and Yui freeze, and they exchange nervous glances. But this is the perfect moment, and Yui gives him a small, encouraging nod. They wait for the perfect opening, and then Matsugo finally gathers the courage to get everyone's attention. He takes a deep breath, ready to finally share the truth about their relationship, hoping their friends will be as supportive as he imagines. The morning after the big confession at the campsite, Yui and Matsugo are taking a quiet walk, finally able to just be themselves. Yui teases Matsugo, saying he can finally try calling her by her first name in front of their colleagues. But just then they notice Shizuno and Kazuki doing couple stuff nearby, and they all snap back into professional mode. After some awkward morning greetings, they all head back to the reality of their normal, secret-filled lives. Back at the office, the transfer rumor that had been haunting Matsugo finally comes to a head. His boss calls him over, and with a serious face tells him that he has been assigned a new task. Matsugo braces for the worst, but it turns out to be some simple bookkeeping job. On the other hand, Yui is suddenly called into a meeting with HR. With no warning, she is informed that in recognition of her ambitious efforts, she is being transferred to the press reporting department, a high-profile division that is essentially the face of the company. She is completely blindsided. When she tells Matsugo about this, he is just as shocked, but he is happy that she is getting recognized for her efforts. As days go by, news of the transfer spreads, and Yui's friends Chiharu and Yuko are shocked but incredibly supportive. Feeling a new sense of courage, Yui decides it is finally time to drop her other big secret. She takes a deep breath and tells them that she has been dating Matsugo. Their reaction is not what she expects. It turns out that the girls already had some guesses about their relationship. Apparently, Yui and Matsugo's attempts at being subtle were about as effective as they could be. They admit to noticing their strange closeness and secret happy conversations. Relieved and a little embarrassed, Yui is just happy to finally have it all out in the open with her best friends. In a flashback, Matsugo is being ignored by Yui, and even his friends feel bad for him. But as time went on, they started chatting, and one day the two even went out shopping together. Despite this, Yui and Matsugo did not confess their feelings because a romantic relationship in the workplace is complicated. One day, everyone from the office went out drinking, and while Matsugo was distracted, Yui left the bar. Realizing that she was drunk, he stormed out to see if Yui was safe. At this dimly lit road, he approaches the girl, and at last, Matsugo confesses his feelings with total honesty, and surprisingly, Yui also reciprocates the feeling. Since then, the two have been in their secret relationship. Fast forward to the present. Yui and Matsugo are walking down the same path, recollecting the memories of how they ended up in this relationship. With a smile on her face, she grabs Matsugo's arm and tells him she is looking forward to going home.